Hey guys, know it's been a while, but I thought I'd give a bit of an update video on what I've been working on. So right off the bat, the first things I want to go over are weightless support and the fluid tanks, which you can see down here. First off, you can see down in the bottom left hand corner, I've got Wayla moved over there. You can see it's displaying things like the speed, efficiency, and multiplicity, which is what's in the stats pane. So now you can kind of see what's going on without having to open it. You can see here as well that you can see the fuel levels and what's in the tank itself. So let's go over how the fuel tanks work. You place them in the world and you just drop some fluid into them and it'll fill up slowly. Now you can use these as a fuel source. So you can see I don't have any solid fuel, but instead it's using this fuel. And the way it prioritizes that is whatever side the core is on, it goes down, looks from here, and then goes back. So it would go here, 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 and continue on this entire level. Then after it completes this row, it'll go to this row, start from the bottom and go to the top. So you can prioritize which fuels you use. So if you'd rather use the fuel first and the lava last, you can stick the lava over here and the fuel here. It'd be the same thing if the core was on this side. Be the fuel first, and then the lava here. Let me actually turn this down. Alright, now there's a few other things that are natural to the tank. First off, you can lock what fluid you want in there. So of course right now nothing's going to happen. But the tanks actually drain into each other. So you can see this one's on top and you got the lava on the bottom and it's slowly coming through. And that's because lava's pretty viscous. If I show you right here, we put this on top, that's a much faster drain. You can see it's going to catch up to the lava one pretty quickly. And that's because the fuel is a lot more viscous than lava. In fact, it looks like it's actually going to beat it in draining into the one below it. Yep, pretty much. So what I can do is before this goes out, shift right click with an empty hand to lock it. And you'll notice that when it's empty, down there using Wayla, it's not going to accept the fuel from here. It's going to maintain lava. So if I put a lava tank above it, it'll allow lava in, but it's not going to allow this fuel in. So let's let this one drain out real quick, and then we're going to unlock it. And you can see fuel will come back in. Now these tanks can work on their own. You place them down, stick some stuff in there. When you break it, it retains what it had in it. Luckily I had a couple other that were of the same variety. Oh, no, it was this guy. So they work individually, but if you start sticking them next to each other, you'll notice something interesting. So let's say I put a lava bucket in this one. You'll notice it's distributing to the ones next to it. And at the end of this, you're going to see it's pretty much level. There's a little variance of about 5 between them, but for the most part, they're equaled out. And you can use this to your advantage. So you can create a large multi-block tank out of single tanks. So see? Now you have this, and now they all act together. And it also obeys the rules of gravity, so if you start putting these full, it's going to drain into the ones below it. You can see like it is right there. Then it's going to distribute to these guys over here. So this is a neat little way to have a multi-block tank while also having just a single tank you can pick up and move around. And they, as you saw, they do retain their fluid levels when you break and replace the block. And just as something I think is kind of cool, you can stack them up and then put something on the top, and it sort of flows down through all of them into the bottom one. Took a little bit of time to get this rendering right, but I think it turned out alright. So that's the big change, is this whole fluid storage system. And other than that, there's just been a lot of improvements on the code side. Let me pop into here and see if we have anything else. Nothing in the storage, nothing in here. We're making the cuboids, as you can see, have the priority over a fuel provider. So it'll use the fuels from this order to that corner. And it'll also use solid fuels if it doesn't have any fuel it comes into contact with first. So this means that eventually we are going to have RF power supported. So you can have an energy bank here instead of a liquid tank, and it's actually going to use energy just as it would use the fuel. And another thing that's going to come down the line, right now we're just sort of squaring away getting the actual tanks implemented. This was a little bit more work than anticipated, but we're going to have it so that based on things like the fuel level and what type of fuel, it's actually going to influence the speed and efficiency of the furnace. So for instance, this fuel, it will burn a long time, so it'll make the efficiency of the furnace a lot higher. And it's also a little bit faster because fuel is it's a really decent liquid fuel, so it's going to give some pretty good perks. But say you took rocket fuel, because I know some mods add rocket fuel, that would make it very fast but decrease the efficiency. So you can kind of see, based on how fast it burns and how efficiently it burns, that will obviously determine the speed and efficiency of the furnace. And also like the levels, if it's got more liquid in it, it's going to be giving a better benefit than not. And I don't know if you noticed, but we are supporting things like Buildcraft fuels, thermal expansion, the redstone, glowstone, all of that gives some they give some values. I think we did like fire, water, and rocket fuel. I believe that's Ender IO. And there's just a bunch of other fuels. We're going to try to map all the values for anything we find that could be combustible. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if you noticed, but these also do give off light. So I said it tonight, you can see, since this is lava, it's giving off light. The fuel is not giving off light because that's not the way the fuel was registered. But the lava is giving off light based on how much is in it, which is why this lava over here isn't giving out that much light. But you can see if I start filling one up, suddenly it gets pretty bright. So if you wanted to use these as an interesting little lighting mechanic, I suppose you could. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. These hold 4 buckets, as you can see there in the tooltip, and you can lock and unlock them and such. There's a possibility I could be adding support for a void type tank and larger tanks, larger capacities. So say you want to set this to void, it'll fill up the 4 buckets, or if it's empty, hold on. Anyway, it'll hold the 4 buckets or 8 buckets or however much we have the tier set to. And if you had it set to void when it was empty, it's going to just void anything that goes into it. And if you have it set to void when there's fuel in it, it'll fill the fuel up to the top and then void anything else you put in it. I'm not sure what the application of that last one would be, but it seems like it'd be important enough to use. So that's about it for the changes at the moment. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we're working on to make this easy for other developers to get into, and for, you know, just anyone to configure the values of the blocks using our own config system. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so, we'll get started on a new system, either crafting, or I guess you could consider this a new system since it is kind of a multi-block. And I guess we'll see where that takes us. That's about it, you guys. If you want to get more updates, I'm going to try to update a lot more frequently, especially since my Patreon goal was just reached, which my promise was to give more update videos. So hopefully those two will interplay very well, and you'll see a little bit more of the updates as we begin doing some pretty awesome stuff here with modular systems.